And so I see that as my role as a realtor to come alongside each client. Where are you at? Where is your goal? Here are the steps that we can take together to help get you there. And I'm not just going to be a negotiator. I'm going to be your advocate.
My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is The Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. Welcome to The Closing Table. I am your host, Kevin C. McIntosh, and join us in studio. We are excited to talk to another real estate professional, Cori Baumann. How are you, Cori?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here in studio and, giving us some knowledge that we can educate ourselves and our audience with. So appreciate that first and foremost. But before we get into the meat and potatoes, I like to talk to the person. So if you can, Cori, tell us who you are outside of real estate.
So outside of real estate, I am a wife. I've been married for 21 years.
Congratulations.
Yes, I got married young.
Okay.
And I am a mom to 3 children. Judah's 15. Ben turns 13 this week.
Nice.
And Abigail is 9.
Nice.
We were excited to have a girl. My husband is one of 5 boys. And we started off with 2 boys, and I thought, that's it. But we got our girl, so that's really exciting. So I'm an extrovert. I love to create. I always need a creative outlet. Some of my most recent creative passions always will be photography. And sewing is a hobby I picked up during COVID.
Ooh, interesting. I like that because during COVID, a lot of people found out a lot about themselves, hustles that they may have, side gigs. You just found a way during that time period. Everybody should have learned something. So yes, that's what's up. A family woman, also a mother, a wife. We always appreciate that. So I love to hear that. And a professional also. With that being said, being a professional, let's talk about how you got to being where you are in real estate. So just talk about your real estate business. And if you are able to, give us a little bit of insight of how you got to be in real estate, how long you've been active, any notable achievements, anything that you can give us.
Okay,
please.
Sure. So I actually got started in real estate about 12 years ago.
Okay.
And that was with real estate photography. So I had a photography business, and it was a hobby that I loved that turned into a business, something that I could do from home. And that just started to really grow very well. And I got introduced to Jennifer Scanlon, who is now co-owner of the brokerage house where I held my license, and really learned a lot from her and started doing all of her listings, and then started branching out into other realtors in the Jackson area, doing headshots, and was just about to niche down just to do real estate photography when our family decided we would sell everything up and move to Mexico. So we did that. So that's a side note, a separate little chapter.
Okay.
And then when we came back, I didn't really want to do photography full time again. But reconnected with Jennifer, came into the office to kind of take over some of the social media marketing and behind the scenes, just, entering listings, things like that. Found I really loved it. And because I'd been in and around the industry for so long, I was surprised at how much I knew. I really knew a lot. So after about 6 months of doing that, I was like, this is it. So I just went and busted out the class, took my test, and got licensed.
Nice.
So I've been licensed just about 2 years.
2 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But you've been around it for over a decade.
Yes.
Have extensive knowledge from obviously the photography, the marketing, all the way to the inside. Great information. I don't think I've heard too many agents start off in photography and make that transition. Maybe a few, but not too many. So, because I feel like that's a completely different side of the brain. That's the creative side, but then you kind of have to get onto the logic side when it goes to real estate a little bit. Would you agree, disagree?
Yes, I agree to an extent. I mean, every single real estate transaction has its own hurdles, complications.
Correct.
And so I do think that having a creative brain is very helpful. And how can we make this happen? What this, the normal straightforward way won't work. Is there another way around that? And I find that I really utilize those strengths when it comes to listing homes because I've got that strong marketing background
Yes.
and getting that home sold for top dollar, people underestimate how much marketing makes a difference. It's not just putting a sign in a yard
Yes.
and waiting for somebody to come by and fall in love with it. How do you get the most feet in the door?
Mm-hmm.
How do you get the most attention so that you get the most offers?
That's true. That's true. You want to get it in front of the most people, and you have to find different strategic ways to do that, especially in the age of social media.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Well said, though. Thank you for giving us that insight. So let's talk about where you do your business now. Your market. Describe
Yes.
it for those who may have never been to your market. Just give us much insight.
Okay. So my market is Jackson, Michigan, which is South Central Michigan. You're a Michigander
Oh,
when you
there's the
point
hand.
to where you live on your hand. Okay.
I love it.
And so I grew up in Brooklyn, Michigan, which is like a tiny town. We have 2 stoplights. Michigan International Speedway is there. So a big
okay.
racetrack draws
Okay.
a lot of
Yeah.
crowds in the summer. And now Faster Horses, country music festival is
Okay.
there. But yeah, so what I love about Jackson County, and I'm going to include the Irish Hills, which is kind of the Brooklyn southern part of Jackson, and Hillsdale and Lenawee County are included. But there are so many lakes. So just in Jackson County, we have 188 lakes.
Really?
Just in Jackson County. Yes. And so it's a huge part of our culture, I would say, is being able to play, fish, swim. I mean, and that's all year round, whether it's ice fishing, ice skating. A lot of people come to, Jackson County and the Irish Hills for, seasonal homes. We have a lot of seasonal homes, but the year rounders, I mean, it's such a great community. Jackson itself, especially the downtown area, has been so revitalized over the last few decades. It's booming. We've had the Bright Walls Festival, which is like artists from all over the world to come and put their art up on our walls. There's just so much going on in Jackson, and I love it. And so I'm excited. I love telling people about Jackson. I think in the past it's had a bad rap because there's the prison and I don't know. But I mean, it's great. It has so much going for it. My family, I mean, I now live in Jackson. So we bought a home in Jackson last year. So there's just a lot that it has to offer, and a lot of festivals, Hot Air Jubilee, Shakespeare Festival. There's something for everybody.
Right.
And we do have a lot of history there because we are one of the first stops on the way from Detroit to Chicago.
That's a fact.
We have the oldest continually operating train station in the nation in Jackson.
Interesting tidbits right there.
so
You
there
gave
you
us a
go.
mouthful. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. See, I may have made 1 or 2 stops in Jackson in my entire life. Probably one of them being the Meijer that's right off of the freeway. I don't even know if that's technically within the city limits. But I don't know too much about Jackson other than where it is geographically on the map.
You're missing out.
And
It took me 35 minutes to get here.
Oh,
well,
okay.
maybe a little longer because it's snowing today
Right,
because
right.
we do have all 4 seasons here in Michigan.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, I've spent a little bit of time. Actually, now that I think about it, I spent a little bit of time there. I had a friend that lived there, but we didn't do too much. I think I went to one of the festival. Is it a festival in August? Not a festival. Fairs. One of the fairs.
Oh, the Jackson County Fair.
Jackson County
Yep.
Fair. I was there
It's
once.
a pretty good one.
Yep. Every time, not every time, but during the summer, I believe. You'll drive at a certain time and you'll see hot air balloons in the air.
Everywhere.
And it's the most, it's a beautiful scene. It kind of catches you off guard, but it's always in Jackson. That's the hot air balloon
The Hot Air Jubilee. Yep.
Correct.
And that's an annual event. I mean, I can remember going to it when I was just itty bitty.
Have you ever been in one of the air balloons?
I have a fear of heights.
Oh, yeah,
so
I'm
it
not
may
mad
not
at
be like top of the list for like romantic date night for me.
Right.
So no, but they do have opportunities there where you can go up and down.
Right.
and stuff
Okay.
like that.
That's
So,
not too bad.
Yeah.
That
I need
would
more than
probably,
a basket if I'm going to be 10 feet.
That probably
more than
freak
10
me
feet
out
off the
too,
air.
if I'm being honest. Like, I'm looking like, whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So let's talk about some of the economics data that we have in regards to real estate in your market. What can you tell us about Jackson, Michigan when it comes to real estate data?
So Jackson, Michigan, right now we're actually seeing, let's see, how do I want to say this? So let me back up. So overall, the last couple years in real estate has been bonkers. I like to refer to it as the unicorn years. Okay,
I can see that.
We're probably not going to see rates in the 2s again. The amount of bidding and over asking like that was crazy. But now we really are back to what would be a normalized, like stable market, like pre-pandemic. However, the number of listings coming on the market and the number of homes being sold seasonally, usually like January, February, it's slower, but we're still seeing above average amounts of homes being on the market, sales being closed. So we are still busy. Homes are still moving. So the market, I feel like, is still pretty strong in Jackson, especially when you're partnered with an amazing agent like us at the brokerage house or myself.
There it is.
So it's things are selling pretty close to list price.
Okay.
I think we had to make some adjustments, like, you know, coming back to reality a little bit.
Correct.
And so things are selling pretty close to list price. And if you have it priced right, which is a whole nother conversation on how to price your home right.
Yes.
When it's priced right, most likely it's going to be under contract in 30 days.
It's not bad. That's not bad.
So that's what we're seeing in Jackson County right now.
Interesting. I feel like I'm starting to hear some of the same movements, growth, or, you know, whatever you want to call it, in different markets, especially after recovering from the pandemic and those unicorn years. Like, I love the way you put that unicorn, because we will never see those in our lifetime. If we do, it's probably some big world event that we probably don't necessarily want
some
anyway.
Other anomaly.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Yep,
well said.
a blip.
So that's very, very interesting to hear. The sale to list price are pretty close in proximity. You're not getting anything super way above list price like it was in the previous years.
And we don't have things typically are not sitting for a really long time, especially if you're under the $400,000 price point.
Okay.
Those homes, you know, we have more buyers for those. We don't have enough homes in like the 150 to 250 range. You know, like we need more homes in that range. But I mean, we've got the whole gamut, because we've got, you know, $1 million homes on the lakes and even in some of the more historic areas of town. So we've got something for everybody.
Nice. Love that. But overall, I do want to say this, and I always say this whenever I'm talking to an agent in Michigan, is Michigan as a state still relatively low when it comes to housing costs compared to other states. I do want to say that. I mean, and then specific markets within Michigan, you'll go even lower than that national average or even state average for the most part.
Yes, and I would say Jackson County falls definitely in one that's a little more affordable, more attainable.
There you go.
Like we neighbor Washtenaw County, which is Ann Arbor, where U of M is. That's a completely different market. You know, Ann Arbor versus Jackson, the home prices, there's a huge gap there. So we're not afraid to refer out even just county to county there, because we want to serve our clients the best as far as, all right, let me hook you up with somebody in Ann Arbor because they know that market.
Got you.
Because the prices are just a little bit
different. Whole different ball game.
So, and we find a lot of people from Ann Arbor coming to Jackson because it's not a far drive right down 94 and buying homes in Jackson, which doesn't help our Jackson residents who are trying to buy those homes.
Yeah,
but,
I get it.
Yes. So definitely an affordable and beautiful place to live.
Yeah. So it's still going to be a competitive market. You know, like you say, even you got people from Ann Arbor coming to the more affordable Jackson market, but still get with a great agent who knows the market, knows the area, and can get you in the right home.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Great. So Jackson, Michigan, one of the areas that I'm not too familiar with, like we discussed before, but you are very familiar with.
Yes.
And you said you actually just kind of recently moved in and got settled as of a few recent years. Yeah. What made you come to the decision of settling officially in Jackson, Michigan? And how do you use your love for Jackson to kind of convey that to your clients that want to actually plant roots there?
Yes, I've had the opportunity to live in a lot of different places around the country and, you know, even out of the country. And Michigan is just always home. And so family is a big draw. I grew up in Brooklyn. You know, my grandparents are on my mother's side are on like a centennial farm, you know, so it's been there for ever, it feels like. And so this is always home. Family's always a big draw. It's hard to be away from family. So that's probably the first thing that drew me back. I remember as a little kid saying, I'm never going to live in Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
And here I am loving it.
The things we say as kids.
Oh, I know. Yep. But I think even just, you know, since I was a kid till now, there's been so much revitalization and positive things that are going on and things that I just wasn't aware of as a kid. So, yep.
No,
I lost my train of thought.
Thank you for sharing that. I literally had the same. Born and raised in Michigan my whole life. Lived in Michigan my entire life. But born in Kalamazoo, lived in Ypsilanti, lived in South Haven, Lansing, Detroit. But when I was younger and I was in the South Haven and the Kalamazoo area, the smaller towns, compared to like Detroit or Grand Rapids, I was like, I could never live here. I don't want it. There's nothing to do. I didn't want that. But then as I get older, I appreciate the smaller towns, the country towns, the Bangors. I appreciate them so much because you find the value in having all of this land, having quiet, not having that fast-paced, busy life that you would have in the city. So I can, as you get older, you start to appreciate those markets.
Oh, absolutely.
I completely understand.
Absolutely.
That.
I love the small town feel. I mean, especially of Brooklyn, and then even, Jackson is bigger, but I still can't go to a grocery store without running into somebody I know. It just still has that community sense about it. And the more I get involved, the more I just love it. I think one of the things that Michigan, which includes Jackson County, has to offer that I missed other places was like all of the trees, all of the water, just all of the wonderful nature things that we have here, the fall, the colors in the fall.
Oh, yes.
And, we've got Meckley's Flavor Fruit Farm and like all these places for the fresh cider and just there's so much that it's like this is home. This is where I want to be. I was happy raised here. I want to raise my kids here. This is a good environment.
Yeah. It's an acquired taste. I think maybe I'm biased, but when I talk to Michigan agents, we all have that passion for Michigan. I mean, especially if you grew up here. Yeah. But like we love all 4 seasons. We love the fall season.
Love the fall season.
And I mean, we can even tolerate the snow. Like we were just talking about. Like we just had a winter storm, some inches, some ice. I mean, you still got to get to where you got to go.
You just do it.
You just got to be careful.
Yeah.
You got to know how to drive. What'd you say? I've been driving in Michigan my whole life for the most part. I know how to drive in Michigan. I know how to drive on these roads. So it's definitely an acquired taste. And once you get here, you fall in love with. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
Like I said, I could be biased though. So.
Well, because we're both Michiganders.
Correct.
So.
Yeah. You also deal with first-time home sellers. Yes. I like to kind of talk about that a little bit because we always talk about first-time home buyers,
right?
Which is a completely different process from first-time home sellers. So can you talk about some of the challenges that you face with your clients being first-time home sellers and just talk about how the strategies that you use with your sellers? Yeah, absolutely.
So after, you've bought a home, so you've walked through that process. Then when it's time to sell, it's like, where do we start? Correct. What do we do? And so, I mean, I feel like that's kind of the first obstacle is just, that overwhelm of where do we start? And so that's where I like to come in and say, all right, I got you. I've got a checklist. We're going to go through this whole process together. I'm going to walk you through it and to just alleviate some of that stress. So I think one of the first major things is helping the first-time home sellers separate decoration from function and getting the home prepared to market, because you want your buyers to come in and be able to envision themselves, to feel comfortable. So we want to make the space feel as big as possible. And I hate the word declutter because I feel like it has a negative connotation to it, but I haven't come up with the perfect word to replace it with. So if you have any ideas, let me know.
I'll think about it.
But just to say, it's nothing personal.
Right.
It's nothing against your taste in decoration, but we just want to get it, out. Let's make a list here. Or let's help you sort. What do you want to keep? What do you want to donate and what can we sell? And let's get as much out as we can. Or if they're in a situation, which is always another challenge of when you're selling a home, where are you going? And the timing of all of that. So if we're able to, I love it when we're able to move them out first, if finances allow. So then the home is completely empty because then I come in and stage. And that's something that I can offer complimentary to my first-time home sellers. Stage the home. That way it's neutral, professional, neat, and or I can work with people's furniture that they already have, but I may have them take some out or may rearrange it so that it showcases the function in the space the best so that, buyers want to jump on it.
Right.
So that's kind of where I start. I make a customized, I call it honey-do list, a customized honey-do list for each client to say, all right, here's where we're going to start. Here's what we're going to do. And we're going to look at the house as far as, all right, so would it be a good return on investment and what we can get the sale price for if we were to replace this carpet, or, we need to fix this, or if, you put in a couple $100 to fix this window, now we can go FHA. Just make sure that we're preparing the home on every level to be as marketable as possible. And so just to walk them through that and come up with a timeline, and versus, what timeline they have based on their finances. So each one is different, but I love to walk them through each thing, alleviate that stress. And one of the things that I like to do, I'm giving away my trade secrets here, and I learned this from Jennifer as well, my broker. I love to pay for a deep clean service, because that's, I think, as a mom anyway, part of the biggest stress is, okay, I can get stuff packed up, but there's, I haven't moved that in so many years. And it's dusty back there.
Oh my God, you got that mark in the carpet.
Hey, if you do all these things, you hit all these things that I am asking you to do to market your home, I'm going to pay for somebody to come in and clean it, because it alleviates the stress for my seller, and B, it looks great for the buyer, and it's a clean slate.
I love that. I love that. Great addition. Great way of adding value to your services.
Absolutely.
Also,
yeah.
Couple things that you talked about. Separate decoration from clutter. Is that what you said? Or
decorations from function.
From function. That's what you said. Describe that a little bit more. What does that necessarily mean exactly?
So, basically kind of what a client's style might be, how they have something decorated. They may love bright pops of color and animal prints. Okay. And so they've got, animal print blankets and, a bright wall, and maybe, and it might be lovely and fabulous. But I may say, hey, let's paint that a neutral color. I'm going to take this out. We'll leave your one print on the wall, but we're going to neutralize this, take things out. Not because I don't love it or I don't think it's great, but because, if I'm going to put your house forward on its best foot for a marketing value, these are the things that we need to do. So to approach that in a way that doesn't make people feel bad or like, oh my gosh, she thinks my house is ugly. No, that's not it at all. That's not it at all. But we want to show the function. And so we don't want any distractions. We don't want somebody to come in and go, oh, look at these colors.
Good point.
Or who would put that there? And now they've been distracted from the function of the room. So that's what we want to remove.
Got you. Great way of explaining that too. Not only for myself, but for the audience that may kind of wonder what that means. But I like the way you separate that, because someone could say, hey, this is my animal room. I have all my stuffed animals, my cheetah print wallpaper, and my animal cover, like you said.
That is great.
But
let's
this is really just a bedroom.
And take them to your new house so I can photograph it without.
Real talk.
Oh, and another thing, because we're in Michigan, I have to mention this. If somebody has Michigan State or Michigan up in their home, that's got to come out, because people will come in and say, oh, there's a Spartan fan here. I'm not buying this house.
They'll make that decision based on that? There's no way.
People make decisions on all kinds of things.
True.
I've had a buyer that's like, oh, there's popcorn ceiling. I won't buy the house. They're hiding. Like, people have their things. So if we can address, mitigate those up front, anything that could cause, if someone had an Ohio State room.
Oh, I'd burn the whole house down.
Right? Exactly. People would get stuck on that picture online and not look at the house.
Oh my goodness, I couldn't imagine.
So that one I'd be like, you know what? We're gonna paint it all gray, okay? And I'm gonna take your red pillows out and
respectfully, Ohio State, respectfully.
Sorry, no.
I love it. But that's a great point. I never thought about it. That's one of the small things that an experienced agent like yourself will be able to point out, because I wouldn't necessarily even think about that. But overall, it makes sense. Yeah, keep everything as neutral as possible. The family pictures come down, the crazy wallpapers and wall colorings. Take it all down, make it neutral so that someone else can see their vision of whatever this room or function is.
So they don't get distracted by your preferences.
Yeah. I also like the note that you made about decluttering and the term of it. I never thought deeply about it, but I now that you mentioned, I'm thinking declutter. Like, imagine if you had a home, you stayed there for 10 years. A real estate agent walks in and say, yeah, we're going to sell this home, but you need to declutter it. You're looking like, declutter?
What?
This is my house.
This
like,
is my thing.
Right.
I know. And I think this goes, I actually studied psychology in college. That's what my degree is in. And so I think about how words make us feel, or what that even subconscious reaction is. And so I don't want anybody to feel bad about the treasures they've collected or how they like to decorate. Like, I don't want there to be any negative connotation to that. It's just, no, we're just going to make your home marketable. And it's beautiful what you've done, but we want to make it ready for somebody else to come in.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't know what to do about that word.
Yeah,
that seems to be the word everybody uses, is declutter, and I just don't like that word.
That is very, very true. We're going to have to work on that by the end of this episode.
Maybe we need to like chat GPT.
Yeah, we're going to have to, I know, right? Use all resources. So you also, not only are you an active, successful real estate agent, you are an experienced photographer also.
Yes, sir.
Dual agent, dual skilled. We love that. All right, so talk about utilizing your photography skills in marketing with your real estate listings, right? Because there has to be a certain method and strategy, but also see, we talked about this before we started recording in regards to screen appeal.
Yes.
Right? So I want you to break that down, but we were talking in regards to curb appeal versus interior appeal. Curb appeal being the outside of the home and the property, interior appeal obviously being the interior. And I asked her what would she prefer, and she broke down screen appeal instead of choosing one or two. Can you break that down again, please?
Sure. So everybody is shopping online now. So even as an agent, while I'm watching things, pull up in the MLS, to send, my clients are already online. They're already looking at the houses.
Right.
And so we've got, statistically, for a picture to grab somebody's attention, it's like 3 seconds. And we've got maybe 8 seconds for them to go through the listing, to click on it and stay. So you really want those first images that people see online of your home to be awesome. Gotcha. I would say freaking awesome, right?
I love when she looked around.
Okay. We want it to stand out. We want people to click. So, and then we want them to want to come in and see the house. So that's what I mean by screen appeal. Curb appeal is when you drive by a house and you're like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. I wonder what the inside looks like. I would love to live there. And you have no idea what the inside looks like.
Correct.
So with the screen appeal is we're getting that initial like, oh my gosh, look at this house. And then once they come in and we're able to invite them in online, with technology, then, look at this, look at that, and they're able to, especially when it's staged and cleaned and decluttered, they're able to see the function and size of the rooms and get a really good feel for it. So coming back to that, feeling, I guess, too, you want people to have a good feeling about it. You want to remove those distractions. You don't want people zooming in going, what is this? There's going to be some of that in some houses. That's just, the nature of the business, but as little as that as we can. I always make sure I really strive to not misrepresent homes with pictures, which can be easy to do. So I do not want somebody walking into one of my listings going, and feeling disappointed with the in-person versus the online pictures. So I make sure, the images are not too distorted. Like, you don't want to use too wide of a lens where it makes things look way bigger.
Yeah. Good
so
point.
that was definitely, as I started into real estate photography, something I played around with, like what's that magic, focal length for making the room to showcase it without exaggerating it, if that makes sense. And then same with the, lighting and all of that. So time of day makes a difference in when you take pictures. And I'm not a huge fan of the fake sky backgrounds.
No,
I'm not, because and that's okay. Everyone's got their their jive. For sure. Now, don't get me wrong. I have done plenty of sky replacements, that's for sure. But I try to look at what direction is the house sitting. I overthink. And like what's like a natural, like for this season, kind of a sky instead of like, I don't want to show up to a lake house and it's pointing north and so the sunset would be different.
Oh wow, you really think about that.
I do. I
you really think.
Well, I
Not mad at it.
I strive to do everything with integrity. So even just some of those little details, I don't want to misrepresent anything.
I respect that. Yeah.
I don't want to misrepresent anything. So, yeah. So when, sometimes pictures you can tell have been really processed, and then it makes me think, oh, are they hiding something? They're not. I'm just overthinking, but I just like to represent everything as realistically, but in their best light.
No, I get it.
That makes sense.
No,
yeah.
absolutely. And the point on, representing the best light is because sometimes you can go on these websites, you can look at the homes, you can look through the pictures, but I feel like now I even can see some of this looks edited. Like this doesn't look real. Like, so you can kind of see it.
There are companies that offer virtual staging,
right.
which some people do. And I'm not a fan of that. I mean, it would be cheaper than physically moving in all the furniture like we do at the brokerage house. But I think sometimes it can misrepresent sizes, and you show up and now you're looking at an empty room, and that has a different feeling. Walking into an empty room versus walking into a room that's got a couch and a chair.
Good point.
Like it again, it's that feeling, that storytelling, aspect of it. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, and I agree. But I think they both serve their purpose. Like you said, virtual staging can be a little less cost and labor intensive, and then obviously having physical furniture in there when you have someone physically looking at the property can make a worldwide difference.
I'm not afraid to go the extra mile on like practically everything.
Right.
So.
But overall, I did want to put out there that not editing or doing different types of what do you call it? Photoshop
enhancements.
Enhancements.
Enhancements. Yes.
It's not bad. Sometimes it's needed. You might need it to enhance something that's already there. You're not necessarily manipulating or lying about it.
No, and I'm not trying to bash that.
Absolutely.
Because I enhance my pictures too. Like I'm going to take the picture lit for the room, but the window's blown out. Well, guess what? I'm going to do some recovery in that window so you can still see what it looks like outside. Yeah. So yes, there's absolutely some editing that happens. So don't mean to bash that altogether or at all.
Just, to each his own.
Just as long as it's it represents correctly.
Correct.
Yeah.
Another thing about the photography setup, I just want to know like your strategy behind not only taking the photos but posting the photos. I know your method of screen appeal is very important. But let's say you did take photos and now you're posting that online. Is there a method with the first photo? Do you rather post the interior or the exterior as the cover photo? And if you do, what angle? Or is there a certain number of photos? Is there such thing as too many photos? Not enough photos? Like
you're asking a photographer.
Yes. And I get that. No, I get that. So I just want to know like your strategy behind choosing all of that.
Sure. So I don't have a super direct answer, although I mean I should if I spent more time in my data analytics on what gets, but I'm a creative brain. So I like to put out several different kinds of posts, so I'm going to use different pictures for different types of advertisement. So if I'm doing like, hey, this is a new listing type of a post, I'm usually going to put probably no more than 5 pictures, and I'm going to pick, it is going to start with the exterior shot, and then it's going to be my 4 favorite shots following. And if there's a special feature, I may not show the whole living room. I may just show the fireplace because it's an amazing fireplace. Gotcha. Something, things that are going to draw people in. So if I'm going to be doing a print ad, let's say, so like I was selling a condo in a retirement community. All right, well, this one needs a print ad in the paper. And that's where I got a ton of phone calls from.
Really?
So also knowing your market, who's the best fit for, who's going to want to live here? Where are they? That's where I'm going to market.
Right.
But yes, for the most part, most people are online. So, and then I do open houses too. I know all agents don't necessarily do open houses, but I think they're great opportunities just to get more people in the door to help maybe potential buyers who, don't have an agent yet. But also it's another marketing tool. It's another time when you put it in, it bumps it up in the MLS again. So people who have looked at it get that notification, and it's another excuse for me to get it out in social media. So there, I usually am more playful. Something that we've created at the brokerage house are these little GIFs. I don't know. Did you say GIFs or GIFs? There's like a debate.
Depending on the day. I sometimes I say GIF, sometimes I say GIF. It's weird. It's a weird word.
Well, I like to call them I'm going to call them gifts
Okay.
because they are my gift to
I
the world.
I understand what you mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that will be, like a cute little
Right.
GIF on there with open house, come see me, or, like just kind of adding some
Yeah,
fun
yeah.
because I do like to have fun. I view myself as a fun person. So anyway, so I make those a little bit more fun and engaging, and, we'll include links to click, so they can go look at it right directly on my website. So they're not going somewhere else to look at it.
Nice.
Some of those things, those I usually keep maybe 3 or 4. Sometimes though, I'll do a whole reel where I've got, if I'm going to do a reel, I'm going to do video with the pictures, and there you can put in, 15 to 20 in a shorter clip and maybe do a voiceover or something like that.
Nice.
So
Okay.
I think it's about presenting the home in several different ways because you're going to grab different people at different times.
Yeah, especially on different platforms and
Yes.
different things where, so you got to kind of like A/B test everything.
Right.
I kind of get it.
Who's
I
the
get
target
it.
market for this listing? I mean, when you look at it business wise, who's the target market? And then, so I don't have I don't do anything cookie cutter.
No, I get it. Yeah,
I guess
get it.
so. And
Yeah.
each home is unique and different. So
Correct. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, you have to. And each client is different also. So
Each
your
client,
approach,
absolutely.
your marketing, everything,
Yep.
kind of has to tailor to the situation.
Yeah.
Right. Well said. Well
Yeah.
said. I have the statistic from Zillow. Don't know how true it is. You would know from your experience. It says 61% of sellers also buy within 12 months of actually selling. So in your situation, in your experience, I guess, has there been a situation where you had like a certain timeline you wanted to sell a client's home? And can you talk about the challenges you faced, how you
Sure.
overcame them, and what you learned from that
Sure.
situation?
So I have one example that comes to mind. I had a family who have this beautiful lake home, and they were going to live there forever, but decided it was really too far from everything.
Okay.
And so they wanted to sell their home and move back to Jackson before the school year started. And we're already like halfway through summer. So I'm like, okay, we're going to do our
Pressure,
best here.
yeah.
And it's a really cool house, but it's also a really unique house. So I'm like, we're either going to sell it right away or we're going to have to wait for that right buyer. Unfortunately, we're waiting for that right buyer. However, they needed to move. Now, financially, they're able to move forward without selling the house, which is not everybody's financial situation. So that's something to come into account.
Yes.
Can you do,
Thank you.
2 mortgages, or what does that look like, if for a short time? And they found the house that they wanted, but, we had the home sale contingency. And so I was like, all right, I need to think outside the box here. So, communication is key. I mean, agents, we just need to communicate with each other because we can problem solve with each other and get everybody happy. So the house that they wanted, I was able to work with that agent and proposed, hey, can we come in and rent for up to 6 months while we wait for the house to sell, and then, purchase cash after that? Or, and so we ended up sitting down and coming up with this whole agreement, and different months and different times, and it got my sellers into the home that they wanted in Jackson, and the seller of that house was able to then go to the state where her husband had moved. So she was able to get there because again, their house was one that was unique, that was in that higher price point I mentioned earlier, that those homes sometimes sit a little bit longer because there's less of a crowd looking for those. And so everybody ended up happy. Neither house is officially sold yet, but we're so close. We're so close to there. And so, everybody got happy. So we were able to accommodate timeline of my client and timeline of the other client wanting she wanted out. And so, just thinking outside the box and going for it. The worst somebody can say is no. Okay. All right. Well, what about this? Or what about this? So, I don't give up easy, let's see if we can figure something out. If there's something that makes sense for everybody, that gets a win in everybody's bucket, let's do it.
I think the win-win situation is very, very important.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like it's kind of a lost art in some ways. You want to walk away with, obviously you want to win, but I think you should focus on the other person winning also. That way you can have longevity. Always think the long term, the bigger picture. So you don't want to mess up any relationship with someone by them walking away from the closing table, no pun intended, saying that they feel like they got the short end of that stick. Right. So, looking at for both people's interests, even if you are serving your client or whatever the case may be, your client being the seller or the buyer,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
yeah, finding a way to kind of meet in the middle. Yeah, absolutely. Your experience we talked about earlier, helping juveniles in Colorado.
Yes.
Also helping the homeless in Mexico.
Yes.
Two completely different ends of the spectrum. We got to dive into it. How do you feel like these unique experiences changed or shaped your approach to real estate?
So really the first word that comes to my mind is advocate.
Okay.
Advocacy.
Okay.
Because the juveniles in Colorado, they have a record. They've had no training on how to apply for a job or any of these things. So it was walking through every step alongside, here, let's ride the bus together. Let's do this, just step by step, equipping them to be successful in life. And then again with, the elderly who were forgotten about, had no resources, needed help just getting fed and basic things like that. So those experiences together for me is those were both experiences where I got to come alongside and help people in a meaningful way. Right. And that is really the true passion of my heart is meeting people where they're at and helping them move forward. And so I see that as my role as a realtor, to come alongside each client. Where are you at? Where is your goal? Here are the steps that we can take together to help get you there. And I'm not just going to be a negotiator. I'm going to be your advocate to put your offer in front of others, or to continue the questions until we can find an agreement that everybody can, agree to. So really, I think that's kind of how it all comes together for me, is that passion for helping people. And now I get to put that passion to help people in real estate, which is, one of the biggest investments that people make in their whole life. It's a really big deal. And there's a lot of jargon and paperwork and things that people don't know. So, all right, let me equip you step by step and advocate for you and make sure that you understand everything in the process. And then I get to see you win in the end, yes. with a home, whether it's buying or selling.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Yeah.
It speaks well to your character. Love to hear that. I mean, to me personally, it seems very reassuring to know that, you took your own time to help these people.
Yeah.
With no real incentive. It wasn't court order. You wanted to do this from your own good graces. So I would only imagine, dealing with a transaction that's, financially involved and things of that, a huge transaction at that, you would definitely be putting your best foot forward that being said. So I think that alone just kind of speaks to your reputation, your character, and just overall your success, if I'm being honest.
Well, thank you.
So,
I do think that if you work with integrity and you do the right thing, even when it's hard, I mean, I've had some rough transactions. I think that's the key to success, and that's, no, whatever the commission is, doesn't matter. I don't like to look at it or calculate it ahead of time. I don't, because that's not what it's about for me. It's really about the people, and that's where the success is.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that, Cori. All right, cool. So I want to ask you this question just out of curiosity.
Sure.
I love to kind of, give myself and our audience something to motivate. Is there a movie, book, quote, philosophy that you live by that you feel like kind of shaped your life personally and or professionally that you could share with us?
Yes. I feel like there's a lot in my life, and a lot of them do come from the Bible. I think that's where a lot of my passion, comes from, with helping people. And so thinking about it, I think one thing that kind of just stands out, and I think just from a recent conversation that I had with somebody, is I think it's somewhere in Psalms where it says, a companion of fools suffers harm, but he who walks with the wise gains wisdom. Right? We are the sum of who we surround ourselves with, right? And so for me, I have a great relationship with my husband. We've worked hard at our marriage. It is hard to be married for 20 years. And that has carried over into my professional life with the brokerage house as well, because they do things with excellence. So being at this brokerage, I know that I am being pushed to excel. I'm being pushed to deliver the best customer service that I can. We learn from each other. We encourage each other. We, I have this come up. I'll show that house for you. Like, we really, truly, it's like a family, and it's a family that builds each other up so that we can better serve our clients. And I absolutely love that about the brokerage house. I will never change brokers, I don't think, because I love it. And the example that Sandy Simmons and Jennifer Scanlon, who are the co-owners, co-brokers, have set with that example, and just how much I've learned from them. Even, when I would photograph listings for Jennifer, and like learning, like, nope, we don't even want to see a cord. Like, we want no distractions. Like, I've learned so much, and I know that they make everybody better. And so it's important to be a part of a team, whether you have it in your family or church or an athletic team or some kind of source. You need to make sure that you have people that build you up, because there are givers and takers. And in real estate, there are a lot of takers just by the nature of the business, right?
Yeah, I get it.
Preach it. So so it's really important to balance that out in your life by having a good support system. And I feel very blessed that I have that good support system, not only at my brokerage, but being able to be in Jackson, where my family is, and to have that as well. So I feel like, I'm trying to build myself up with that wisdom and not being a fool.
No, absolutely.
So that's kind of, I guess, one of many things that I live by that I think is important, that I think can sometimes be overlooked in real estate, that it's important that you've got people pouring in, and on those days you've only got 20, you've got somebody to help with that 80,
not even just real estate, just in life, in general. Yes, that was a great point. I mean, you are the sum of the people that you hang around, or you'll eventually turn into what they are. So
we've been going over this with our teenagers, talking about that right now.
Absolutely.
Your friend choices are important.
Oh yeah, that's a key time to learn that too.
So that's probably why it's top of mind right now.
Well said. Perfect place to land a plane, Cori. Thank you so much for coming to the closing table, especially in studio right now. If you have any last words and or want to tell people how to reach out to you, the floor is yours.
Okay, sure. Feel free to reach out to me. You've got CoriBaumann.com, CoriBaumann. And on there is where I'm launching my first-time home sellers picture perfect process. So that's something I mentioned earlier, coming alongside sellers and walking you through each step. So we'll have some free resources there, and you can learn more about that. My phone number is 517-539-4401. I'd love to connect with you here in the Jackson area. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun, and I just love being a part of community. I feel like my community has now expanded. Being here. So thank you. And let's be friends on Facebook too. Come find me.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Cori. Appreciate you for being here. Much. Thank you. And for our YouTube audience watching right now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, do us both a favor. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share the content. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Give us a like, a 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content. And I have a question for our audience too, Cori. I like to get their brains
let's do it.
This is for you. When did you sell your first home? And is there anything that you regretted or wish you would have done differently? Or do you have seller's regret from anything in that transaction? Don't tell us now. Leave it in the comments below. Besides that, we'll talk to you next time.